to start by introducing myself. My name is Ilyas Ali. I'm Assistant Imam here at the Islamic Information and Dawah Center. We've been here at this location since 1998, so we're approaching 20 years, and it's always nice to have members of our neighborhood and members of our community come in and join us here. As sad and as distressing as the situation is, we always look for the silver linings, and so we thank you for joining us tonight. I want to start by reading the opening prayer, which is an important prayer for Muslims, and it's something that we recite in every one of our 5 daily prayers, at least 17 times a day, and it's something that might be akin to the Lord's Prayer in the Christian tradition. So I'll start with that. In the name of God, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Praise be to God, Lord of the worlds, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful, Master of the day of judgment. It is you we worship, and you we ask for help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those upon whom you have bestowed favor, not of those who have evoked your anger, nor of those who are astray. Ameen. Next up, I'd like to call upon Reverend Gary Vandermeer from St. Anne's Anglican Church, and he's a good friend of the mosque and a good builder of community and of the neighborhood, and so I'd like to call upon him to also start us off with a prayer.
Good evening, and I bring greetings to you from our congregation at St. Anne's Church and also from Rabbi Elise Goldstein and the congregation at City Shul. Let's take a moment to pray. Almighty and loving God, we come before you with broken hearts, but hearts that are open to love and the determination to continue loving and growing in our love with these, our friends, and your inspiration to guide us. Amen.
Thank you very much, Gary. We have a mix of speakers here before you today. We have some local representatives from City Council and school trustees and other elected representatives, community leaders. And then we also have quite an array of faith leaders from the neighborhood, from many of the churches in the neighborhood. And so we're happy to have all of them address us. And so next up, I would like to call on Merritt Stiles, TDSB trustee for Ward 11. Merritt was one of the first people who reached out to me and said, is there going to be a vigil here at the Dawah Center? And I told her, well, there are a couple of vigils happening downtown, and I'm going to be at one. In fact, last night I was at vigil at University of Toronto, but Merritt said, well, there are a lot of people here in the community who really want to have something here locally. And so I'm really thankful for her for bringing that suggestion to me, and many others have done so as well. So Merritt.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. Well, it is not surprising, really, to see how many people showed up here tonight, because I think that, as Elias was saying, our community, yesterday I was certainly getting a lot of calls. People were reaching out to say, what can we do? How can we come and show our support for the members of our community that we care so deeply about? I want to speak very briefly on two issues. One is I am a school board trustee, so I want to speak for a moment about the role that we all have to play in supporting the students, the young people in our schools. And then I'm going to speak for just a moment because I'm going to bring a message. I'm also the president of Canada's NDP, and I'm going to bring a message from Tom Mulcair, who I spoke to today and asked me specifically to bring greetings. So I think yesterday many of us began the day in shock of such a horrendous act and concern for our future. For Muslim communities and all those who face Islamophobia, there were additional feelings of insecurity. And for students in our schools of Muslim faith, there were feelings of great vulnerability. We work hard, I feel, in the public school system, and in all our families to make schools safe and caring spaces. We have the responsibility, I believe, but also the opportunity to engage young people in a broader conversation about the importance of building a more inclusive society. We have to bring the events in Quebec City into our conversations. And I think in our schools, we're going to be doing that, but also here in our community. And I advised my children yesterday when they started the school day, I said, you all have friends who will be feeling the impact of this in different ways. Reach out to them and tell them that you love them and support them, and how important those individual moments are to all of our children and our families and our neighbors. We need to reflect, but we also need to act. So I mentioned I wanted to bring a greeting from Tom Mulcair because I spoke to him today. And he was in Quebec City yesterday with other leaders of other parties and the Prime Minister as well. And he asked me to share with you this message. To our Muslim brothers and sisters, we mourn with you, we pray with you, and we promise we will stand united and fight against forces of hatred, bigotry, xenophobia, and those who peddle the politics of fear and division. Our hearts are broken, but with love and hope we can come together with shared belief that we will overcome. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Marit. Next up, I have a guest who lives next door at the New Horizons Tower, Margie Pratt. She wanted to share a few words with us, and because of her health, she's not able to stay for the entire night, so she wanted to just share a few brief words with us before heading back to her home.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I have all kinds of health problems, mobility especially. But I'm just have a very, very few words to say to you that I love you all, I love your community, and I think I speak not only for myself, but all of Toronto and all of Canada. The horrors that have been committed against you. I just want you to know that I love you. Good night.
Thank you very much, Margie. That means a lot. Thank you. Next up, we have Asma Malik, who is the TDSB trustee for Ward 10.
Good evening, friends. Thank you, Ilyas, and to all the organizers of tonight's event, and thank you, Margie and Marit, for your incredible words. I want to start off by saying Assalamu alaikum to all of you. This is the first greeting that I ever learned, and as many of you know, it's an offering of peace. And I wish for us tonight that peace be upon us all. My name is Asma Malik, and I'm the school board trustee for TDSB Ward 10. That's City Wards 19 and 20, Trinity Spadina. And the boundaries of my ward lie just a few blocks west of here, or east of here. And we're gathered here tonight in an Islamic center. And I spent my childhood in mosques and Islamic centers much like this one. They're places of prayer and places of community and friendship, places that I learned sharing and service, and places of celebration, but also places that community gathered to seek healing when there was loss. And the words I heard most often in places like this was salam, peace. And on Sunday night in Quebec City, as we heard that the lives of 6 men were violently cut short by a murderous act of hate, peace was shattered there and in every mosque across Canada and in every community across our country. Hearts were broken from sea to sea to sea. And on the cover of today's paper, I looked at the faces of those 6 men, and they reminded me of my brothers, my father, my uncles, and my elders. And tonight we gather to honor them, to pray and mourn them. We gather to share our outrage, our tears, and our horror. But looking around this room, I know that we also gather here to affirm our commitment to stand in solidarity against hate today, this evening, and every single day. We will not be divided. We will not fear each other as some would like us to. We will call out Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and racism wherever we find it, whether it's in our neighborhoods or in our politics. And make no mistake, acts of terror like this are preceded by words of hate and rhetoric that seeks to erase and marginalize us in big or small ways. We've seen that far too much over the past decade, the past months, and the past days. Together, I call on all of us to channel our outrage and our anguish into creativity, organizing, and action, and to build communities that are safe for everyone and that include all of us, like the kinds of community I'm seeing looking out at you all this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Asma Malik. Next up, I'd like to call upon Vanessa Hayford. Vanessa is the assistant to MP Julie Zarowitz. Last night, Julie called me from Ottawa, and I invited her to come out, not realizing that she was in Ottawa. Said, well, unfortunately, I can't join you, but she wanted to share a message with us, and so we have Vanessa Hayford will speak on her behalf.
Thank you, Brother Elias. My name is Vanessa, as Brother Elias just mentioned, and I'm here on behalf of Member of Parliament Julie Zarowitz. She's extraordinarily sorry that she can't be here today. As you know, there's an emergency debate happening in the House as we speak, but she will be planning on attending Friday prayer to stand in solidarity with our Muslim brothers and sisters. So I'm here on behalf of MP Zarowitz and the Federal Davenport team to express condolences for this senseless terrorist act that took place in Quebec City. This is an attack on Canadian values of openness, diversity, and freedom of religion. MP Zarowitz wanted me to be here today to express and to reinforce the importance of coming together and reaffirming that this type of violence is not acceptable. And while these acts aim to divide us, we refuse to let that happen. I'm here as a representative to be together with the community, to grieve with the community, and to let our Muslim brothers and sisters know that we value you so much. You enrich our community in so many ways, and we stand in solidarity with you always. We know that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made a clear statement in the House of Commons condemning this attack and expressing solidarity and support for the Muslim community. And together we will move forward with love, understanding, and compassion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. I noticed there's a bit of crowding going on in the back there, and if you'd like, I would recommend that you sort of slide in towards your right side and up the side here, so that way people coming a little bit later will have we'll have some more standing room in the back. Next, I'd like to call upon Anna Bailau, our City Councillor for Ward 18. I believe that she had to sneak out of a City Council meeting that's running quite late in order to get here on time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Muslim brothers and sisters, we stand together. We stand here with you together as a community, as our neighborhood, as our city today. I felt particularly proud to have all kinds of colleagues and the mayor reaffirming today that we have a sanctuary city here in the city of Toronto, that we condemn these acts, that we welcome people from all walks of life, from all different religions, from all different backgrounds, because that's who we are. So these attacks today that we're seeing with the Muslim community is not only an attack on the Muslim community. It's a tax on our brothers and sisters, but it's an attack on us. It's an attack on the diversity that we have as our country. It's an attack today on one community that if we don't stand up beside them and with them, tomorrow might be another community. So that is why it is so important that we stand up today for our Muslim community, but for the values of freedom, of diversity, of equality. Because that is what makes our country great. That is what has built our nation. That is what has built our city. And that is done every single day through the actions that we have in here, in our community, with our neighbors, in the times of pain, but also in the times of joy. Let's not forget and let's not take it for granted that it's every single day through what we pass on to our kids, the conversations we have with our neighbors, the way we treat members of our community. That's how you truly combat this, with actions more than words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. And next up, I'd like to call upon Andrew Cash. He's the co-founder of the Urban Worker Project. Many of you know him from his civic engagement here in the community. Andrew.
Thanks, Elias. Assalamu alaikum. So I know many of us are here searching for a way to come to terms with what's happened and also to find a way to connect in solidarity with our Muslim brothers and sisters across the country, but especially here in Bluerdale, where we have such a rich tradition of struggle and understanding and struggle and understanding how to see the best in who we all are, how to pull the best of who we all are out of the daily grind of our lives, right? The tough stuff that happens every day. And when something like this happens, it's a reminder of how important it is to keep pulling the best of who we are out of ourselves. And quite frankly, what's been happening for so long, and the members of this community don't need to hear this because they struggle with it every day, is that we have had leadership in the Western world that has not tried to elevate the best of who we are, but has tried to tease out some of the fear and the anger and the insecurity which is part of daily life. What we're doing tonight is, in many ways, saying no to that. No to that narrative. No to that story. No to walls and blown up bridges and shattered lives. And yes to the fact that who we are is what we are here right now. Who we are is a country that has a beautiful aspiration, and that aspiration is lived out every day, and I think we're all proud of the fact that it's lived out every day right here in this community. So as we move forward, I think that one of the things that we need to do, and we all know that words matter, words are so important. This abomination that happened in Quebec just didn't come out of the blue, as many of my esteemed speakers have already said. Words matter. We need to confront racism, Islamophobia, when it happens, at the very moment it happens, every single day. And when we do that, we stand every single day in solidarity with the brothers and sisters that live with us, that call this community theirs, and call us brothers and sisters too. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you much to all of the elected representatives and all of the speakers who have spoken to us so far. In the next part of the program, I would like to take a moment to reflect on and remember the victims of the attack that happened in Quebec City, in the Centre Culturel Islamique de Quebec, in the Islamic Cultural Center of Quebec. I think that that's the reason why we're gathered here, and we should take some time to remember who these people were, who these wonderful human beings were, and the fact that they were taken away through this horrific act. So let me share something about each one, and I'm quoting from what I've found on various media sources, Globe and Mail and CBC, what they've reported about some of the victims. We have Izzuddin Sufyan, age 57. He leaves behind 3 children. He was a butcher and a grocer. He came to Quebec City in the late 1980s from Morocco and studied geology at Laval University. He eventually opened the area's first halal grocery, and which became a way station for Muslim newcomers seeking to find their footing in a new land. One community leader described him by saying, he was almost like the president of the community. He helped and guided all the people who arrived here, students and families. Abdul Karim Hassan was 41. He left behind 3 young children. He was a civil servant working as an analyst programmer for the Quebec government after a stint in IT for the provincial police. He was originally from Algeria. Mamadou Tanou Barry was 42, and Ibrahima Barry was 39. They were civil servants and inseparable friends. Ibrahima Barry worked for the province's health insurance board. He had 4 children, the eldest a 12-year-old, and his wife is in poor health. Mamadou Tanou Barry worked in IT. He had 2 boys, aged 2 and 4. They both hailed from the Republic of Guinea in West Africa. Khalid Belqasimi was 60. He was a Laval University professor. He, like his wife, was a professor in agri-food engineering. His area of research focused on green chemistry and functional foods. He was the keynote speaker at the 66th Canadian Chemical Engineering Conference in Quebec City last October. He is originally from Algeria. Aboubakar Thabti was 44. He worked in a pharmacy and had 2 young children, a 3-year-old and another who was about 10 years old. These are the victims who passed away in Sunday's brutal attack, and there were many more injured and many more whose lives were shattered. We ask God to have mercy on all of them and to grant patience, strength, perseverance, and courage to their families and to their community. I'd now like to take a minute for silent prayer and reflection. I ask you to join me in this minute of silent prayer and reflection. I'd now like to call upon Reverend Stephen Drakeford from the Church of the Epiphany and St. Mark. Is Reverend Stephen in the crowd? Is Pastor Carrie in the crowd? All right, so we'll call upon Pastor Carrie Meadows Helmer from Redeemer Lutheran. This mosque, the Dawah Center, is part of a partnership with 3 churches sponsoring a Syrian refugee family, and one of those is Redeemer Lutheran near High Park, and Pastor Carey will share a reflection and prayer with us.
Greetings from Redeemer Lutheran Church. We have some of our people here this evening. Let us pray. God of light in the darkness, love and peace, our consolation, our strength in weakness, we need you. Gather us in your vision for a peaceable earth. Hold us in the palm of your hand and welcome us with outstretched arms. These tragic moments strike us at the very core of our being together, and we are appalled at such senseless acts of violence. We mourn the innocent lives lost and pray for those for whom unnecessary grief is now the new norm. In a time when the world is deeply confused on how we live together as one people, God, shine your light. Fill us with your love so that we may be a united and visible sign of your loving presence in a hurting world. We stand stronger together on this journey as brothers and sisters, friends and neighbors. And our church sign will say, love over hate. We are all children of God.
Thank you very much, Pastor Carey. Next, I'd like to call upon Richard Steinecke. He's the chair of the Oasis Dufferin Community Center.
Thank you. We have a good group of people from Oasis here today. On Monday morning, I felt personally connected to the sad events the night before in Quebec for two reasons. First of all, I've become close to a Syrian refugee family. They've been here for 6 months, and I wondered at their feelings about the country they now call home. I can report that just as I was arriving, I received an email from them reassuring us that they were glad to be in Canada. Second, we at Oasis, a Christian faith-based organization, have a number of Muslim community members, including Syrian refugee families. As has been often said, Jesus was a refugee from political violence. So Christians should be particularly sensitive to this form of evil. As a result, yesterday morning, Oasis posted on its website and on Facebook a message, Muslims are welcome at Oasis. I then asked our staff to communicate this message to our volunteers and community members this week. We need to make our values of inclusion and nonviolence known. Today, as we mourn together, let us resolve to embrace all Canadians in acceptance, peace, and most of all, love. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. Next, I'd like to call a dear friend, Joe Abbey Colburn. He's the director of Faith in the City, and he has helped us organize an event similar to this last year. And Joe is a Baptist, so he's going to pray for a really long time.
I think an event like this shows a wonderful sense of inclusion and the graciousness of the people who call this community center their home. And also for Ilias to say, I'd like you to say a few words. About 3 minutes. And I thought, Ilias also has a sense of humor. When you hand the mic to a Baptist preacher, I will time me, start, go. I am the director of Faith in the City, which is a network, an interfaith network of faith communities across the city. And we seek to work in partnership and to work with the city and with nonprofit and organizations in doing good work that makes our city a better place for everyone. This comes deeply out of my faith. And in the grief that grips us not just since Sunday, but that this is not a new thing. This is something that is too frequent. It's too common. And it is hard to know what to say or do except what we're doing. to do the things that we do that make this community a good place to live, to make this city a livable place, to connect with each other, to get together, to take the initiative, to go to that other community, to say something to those neighbors of yours, to reach across the street and across the fence, and to talk, and to share some food, and learn about their culture, and talk about the things that make us different and the things that make us the same. I've been gripped by anxiety and fear, like many of us have. And in my tradition, we have stories of angels appearing, and they seem to show up at key moments. And they almost always begin the same way, with the same words. Fear not. Don't be afraid. And I always took them to be words of consolation. And I take them that way now. That God is sending his messengers to console us. But I also think sometimes that the angels might have been showing up in difficult situations and not just speaking words of consolation, but words of commandment. Don't be afraid. Do not allow yourself to give in to fear. Do not slide over that edge into fear. But know that God is with you. And know this command that he has in you. He commands you not to be afraid. Why would God command us not to be afraid? Because God recognizes that the opposite of love is not necessarily hate, but it is always fear. And hate is rooted in fear. And so the angels, whenever they show up, don't be afraid and console us. But don't be afraid. Do not allow yourself to give in to fear. For that will separate you, not only from each other, but from God. Fear not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. That wasn't too long. So I'm going to put another call out here for Reverend Stephen Drakeford from Epiphany in St. Mark. Okay, unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us today, it seems. He's from Epiphany in St. Mark in Parkdale, which is one of the churches that is part of our refugee sponsorship collaboration in the community. We're very pleased to have a partnership with St. Anne's, which is at Dundas and Gladstone, and then Epiphany in St. Mark in Parkdale, and then Redeemer Lutheran in the High Park area. So the four congregations together, we feel really form a strong bond, and really we've really got to know each other very well in the past year as we've went through the sponsorship, refugee sponsorship process, and we're all, I think, thankful for that, and the community, I think, is richer as a result of that. So we're getting pretty close to the end of the program. Councillor Mike Layton wanted to join us as well, but he's running late. We'll see if he manages to show up. And we have Imam Shabir Ali, who is the Imam of the Islamic Information and Dawah Center here, and he is going to say a prayer as well.
Before the prayer itself, I want to thank you all for coming out here tonight. The community is in a state of anxiety, shock, and fear. And it's good to see the large number of persons who have come out here who are probably not Muslims. Most of you are not Muslims, but you have come out to show your solidarity with us in this difficult time. There are people in the neighborhood who have come outside of this hour, and some have come with tears. Somebody donated some money to the center. One lady sent me an email and gave me her address and said, let your community know if anyone is in danger, they can always come to my house. This is my address. And in doing that, obviously, she puts herself at some risk, but that shows the extent to which our neighbors are extending their hand and opening their doors for us in this difficult time. And all of this is really meaningful to me and to the community, and your presence here tonight caps it all off. So I would really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing what you're doing. Let us then pray together. We're here with many mixed beliefs, but many people believe in a power that governs the entire world. Muslims refer to that power as Allah, using an Arabic word, which is the same word that Jews and Christians who speak Arabic use to designate the one true God, the God of Abraham. Let us then, in whatever way we pray, let us pray all together, asking God, the power that runs everything, to have mercy on those who have passed away in this horrible, tragic incident. And we ask him to keep Canada safe and keep the world safe. Let's do it all together. Creator of the heavens and the earth, creator of all humankind, we call on you here together tonight. Though we are of different stripes, of different faiths, of different ideas, of different backgrounds, speaking many different languages, bearing many different skin colors, having many different social connections, we have come together united tonight, pleading with you for your love, your mercy, your compassion, your forgiveness, and your grace. We know that you do not test us with anything more than we are capable of bearing. Your providence will not lead us to such a place where you cannot take care of us. We know that whatever tragic incidents happen, they happen for a reason. We know that you are the ultimate controller of the heavens and the earth. And we know that everything in your control will turn out right in the end. We accept your wisdom in whatever happens, and we ask you to show us the beauty and the wisdom of what you are allowing to happen. We see our coming together tonight as a part of your wisdom. Perhaps through bad things, you let a lot of good things happen, and we see a lot of good things happening here. As we open our hearts in prayer to you tonight, we ask you to forgive those who have suffered in this terrible tragedy. We ask you to have mercy on those who are sick and heal the sick. We ask you to grant patience to their loved ones so that everyone can come out of this seeing your wisdom and accepting whatever you decide for us. We ask you, our Creator, our Fashioner, the Creator of the heavens and the earth, to have mercy on all of those who are suffering everywhere in the world. We ask you to feed the hungry, to clothe those who are naked, to provide housing for those who are destitute. We ask you, our Creator, our Lord, our Fashioner, we ask you to have mercy on all of us and all of our loved ones. We ask you to forgive us, and we ask you to keep Canada a safe place. Remove hate and violence and terrorism, not only from Canada, but from the entire world. And we ask you to make us activists for good causes. Help us to do more than just pray. Help us to do what we can to make this world a better place, starting right here at home in Canada. We ask you to accept from us this humble prayer. Forgive us our shortcomings. And when we leave here tonight, we ask you to take us back safely to our homes and to our families. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to pray together like this. And we ask you to bring us back together in such gatherings, not on occasions of sadness like this one, but on occasions of happiness. And we ask you to gather us in the ultimate station of happiness in the life hereafter under the shade of your mercy in everlasting bliss, forever basking in your love and your mercy and forgiveness. Amen.
Thank you very much. So I guess it turns out that Muslims pray longer than Baptists. So I'm going to call upon Gary once again, and there's something that he wants to share about something that he's organizing, and he'd like you to know about it.
I have an invitation, something we can do together. This Friday, during the Friday prayers, St. Anne's Church and City Shul are coming together to form a ring of peace, a protective ring around the entrance to the mosque, and to greet the worshipers as they come in to pray. And we would invite you to join that ring of peace with us. I have to ask you, if you think you'll come, if you could sign up, because we need to know the number for safety reasons along the front. We're inspired by a similar ring of peace that happened in Oslo. Young Muslim men did it for the synagogue there in 2015, seeing the violence at synagogues in France and Denmark. And the Jewish community was forever grateful to them for that. And so we're inspired to repeat it here. So come and see me if you would be available, 12:30 to 1:30 on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you much, Gary, for that wonderful initiative. And Councillor Mike Layton has made it after, no doubt, a grueling council debate. So, Mike Layton, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a little overwhelming seeing so many happy faces and so many people here to show their support at this difficult time. Thank you so much, Ilyas, for putting this together for us. I know, like many of you, I'm feeling pretty helpless these days, and feeling like something's been torn out, and there's something going on in the world I can't quite put together in my head. And if the events of earlier last week weren't bad enough, when we saw so much fear and hatred come up from our good neighbors to the south, who over the years have shown so much love to people around the world, to shut their doors so abruptly when people need them the most. If that wasn't enough, and we were thinking that Canada was such a special and secluded place, for that pain and hatred to come and terrorism to come and haunt us on our very doorstep. It was just a year ago that we were here. We were here and celebrating just how powerful that message of love could be, in a statement of unity that we made between the school board, the city councillors, and every elected official in Toronto that signed on and said, no, not here, not in our city, it's not going to happen. And we're back here yet again. Last year it was statements of hate, and now it's gone so much further than that. So it's refreshing and providing a little bit of hope that there are so many within our community that are willing to reach past our personal differences and to come together at this time and to try to find some kind of unity in all of this. And we will find that unity. And through this, we will be made stronger. And we will come together like we have never before, between people of different faiths, different backgrounds, different places where they were born and where they come from. And we will find that unity, and that will be the power that we have to push back. Thank you for letting us have this place tonight, and I hope that this continues and grows across our city. And I know we have dedicated elected officials in the room with us tonight, both at the school board and the city, that will bring that further. I suspect that Anna brought you news that at our council meeting just earlier today, we got unanimous support, or all but unanimous support, for a statement to reaffirm the notion that Toronto is opening its doors. Toronto will be a sanctuary city and not question where people come from or their background or how they got here, but instead deliver those important services to people who are in need, no matter who you are. And my apologies for being a little late. The proceedings were not yet over and I had an important item to deal with. But I'm so happy that I could be here. And when I walked in the back, it filled my heart to see so many caring and loving people here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I'm glad you were able to make it, and thank you to all of the elected officials. Thank you to all of the faith leaders who've joined us with your brief statements. Thank you all very much. It really means so much to us. I want to tell you a little bit about what the past couple of days have been like for me. You know, Sunday night, when we heard about the news, whenever I hear about bad news like this, there's always a good part of me that just wants to shut everything off, just shut off the media, shut off the social media. And because it's just so draining and so emotionally taxing, really. But I have a lot of friends on social media, and everybody was discussing, who are the victims, how many, who are the suspects, what's going on. And there was news, somebody had leaked a Muslim name as one of the suspects, and that was really distressing. And then eventually that was removed, and it was just so stressful and so distressing. And part of me wants to shut it off, but part of me knows that I have to be a politically engaged citizen. I can't just run away from it all. And so as I came here on Monday to open up the mosque yesterday, with these sort of gloomy feelings in my mind, still conflicted about, should I post something on social media or should I just bury my head? As I pulled up to open the mosque, I found some flowers at the door and a little sign on the floor next to the flowers saying, "Muslims welcome here." And that buoyed my spirits a little bit. I said, that's neat, that's sweet. I didn't expect that at all. That was totally out of the blue. And I have no idea who did that. And I opened up, I put my bags, composed myself. I went back to look at it, and there were another set of flowers. And so I was kind of thinking to myself, what am I going to do about these flowers? I mean, should I leave them on the sidewalk? And I sort of wanted other people who came in to see them in sort of their raw state right there on the ground as they were left. So I left it for a little bit, and then I said, we can't just leave them here. We have to do something to them. So I brought them in and put them into our showcase right by the corner, right next to the door. And I put a sign there saying that, thank you for the flowers, and if anybody wants to leave flowers, feel free to bring them inside, and we'll add them to the showcase. And lo and behold, flowers started coming in, more and more flowers and cards. And a neighbor came by and she gave me a card, and she said, she came to our event a little over a year ago now, and she wanted to express her solidarity with us and her condolences. And then an elderly gentleman came by, and I asked him, where are you from? He said he's from Etobicoke, but he's in the neighborhood because his son lives here. And he gave me a big teary hug, and he said how sad he was about what's happening. And he shared his condolences, and it was a really touching moment. And I started to get phone calls from elected representatives, phone calls from friends in the neighborhood, emails from some of the faith leaders in the neighborhood. And slowly but surely, it became really a day of picking up the phone and meeting neighbors and meeting strangers and accepting flowers and accepting cards. And that really just consumed my whole day. At a certain point in the afternoon, I got a call on the office phone here, and it was a teacher. And he said that he had his class do a writing exercise to sort of debrief about what had happened. And he asked them to share their reflections with the Muslim community. And so he said his whole class wrote letters to the Muslim community, and he said, I want to bring them over here and deliver them to you. So I said, sure. 15 minutes later, he was here, and he had an envelope full of letters. And at first, I didn't really have a chance to read all of them, but I just had this pack of letters, and that's really totally out of the blue. I didn't expect that at all. And I slowly, opened them up. I had a chance to read one or two. I posted a couple of them on Facebook. They started to get a lot of likes, and people started to comment on it. I posted some pictures of some of the flowers and the cards that we were getting, and people were really amazed. It was shared, I'm not even sure how many times, liked over 200 times, which is a new for me. And so, my spirit started to buoy, and then I started to get a lot of calls from the media, and CBC picked up, just from the social media post, the story about that teacher bringing the letters, and they wanted to interview us about that. And once CBC picked it up, a whole bunch of other media started picking it up. So today, Yesterday was a day of flowers and cards. Today was a day of media interviews, and some more flowers and cards too. So it's all being really, and you can see from that the media and folks out there really want to see inspiring messages at a time when we see really nasty and a violent act like what we saw in Quebec. People are hungry for the positive message and positive, inspiring stories. And really, it's been such an emotional roller coaster because it started with such tragedy and such feelings of hurt, and then it translated somehow into feelings of community, feelings of solidarity, feelings that we are loved here, we are welcome here. People saying that even though I'm not a Muslim, I value this place as part of our neighborhood and a part of our community, and that those messages are really meaningful to us, and we really take them to heart. As a person of faith, it's my faithful duty to look for the light in the darkness, and not to allow myself to be consumed with the darkness, but to try to find the meaning, even if it seems a little silly at times, but try to find some positivity and try to find a takeaway from it, a reflection, something valuable, something that can push me in a positive direction. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm so thrilled that this event is another example of how out of the darkness there can come light. And I think that, I guess what I want to say is that we have a responsibility coming out of these kind of events. When we see something so nasty and violent like that, I think there's at least two responsibilities, two responses that we need to have. The first is that I think we need to fight hate with love. We need to respond when we see hate. We need to take it as a challenge and say, okay, there's hate. Well, let's see what I can do. I can do better than that. I can respond with love. And I think sharing those messages, telling people that you're important to me, you're important to my neighborhood, to my community. I think that's really important and really valuable. And sometimes we overlook that because we think that it's taken for granted, it's obvious. But it's sometimes it needs to be reaffirmed. And so I want to encourage all of you to, as you've done by coming here today, to meet new people, people who maybe you don't normally interact with, people from different backgrounds, whether it's cultural or socioeconomic, and try to meet new people and to really make new connections and to share those words of support and share those words of encouragement with each other. And I want to also challenge all of you to be a little bit challenge yourself in terms of go out of your comfort zone. That teacher, Sam Pisani, who called up, he kind of sounded a little nervous when I picked up the phone. And many of the people who came in with flowers and cards, they were kind of a little nervous, like, can we come in? Is it okay? Are flowers okay? And sometimes we have to push ourselves out of that comfort zone in order to make new connections and build community. And that's something that Gary has done in pushing us at the Islamic Center here at the mosque to build partnerships with him and to build partnerships with other churches. It's something that has really enriched our neighborhood, our community. So I want to encourage you all to reach out. If you're running a church or you're running a nonprofit or you're whatever it is, maybe a neighborhood group, to think about ways in which you can push the boundaries in terms of, meeting new groups, making new connections, and inviting people into your space who wouldn't normally be there. For me, I think it's really important that we invite people of all faiths or people who don't necessarily subscribe to a faith, but people, our neighbors, into our space here so that we share a space together and we feel a sense of community and we grow stronger together that way. That's the first point. And then the second point is that we also have to do some hard work of combating the type of hate speech, the type of vitriol, the type of xenophobia that fuels lunatics and tips them over the edge and lets them feel bold enough to do the kind of things that happened in Quebec. And that's a longer conversation that we need to have. I don't really have all the answers. I've been busy all day today taking media requests and all day yesterday taking flowers. So I haven't had time for political analysis, but I've seen a lot of friends sharing things on Facebook about putting pressure on the government to take this stand on refugees, putting pressure on the government to take this stand, make this statement against what's happening south of the border. I don't really know what all that is yet. I'm gonna start on that tomorrow. But I think that what we can do today is that we can share ideas with each other. We can come together and say, hey, this is some petition that I'm working on. This is something that I want you to know about. These are some ideas. What do you think? I think that this platform provides a real opportunity to do that. And so I encourage you to not just do the first step, which is to share those words of comfort and solidarity with each other, but take it a step further and figure out how we can mobilize and act and work together for positive change. Okay, so Abdul Jabbar is just letting me know that on your way out, you might find that your shoe is not where it was before. Hopefully it's still there. But because there are so many shoes, they had to be sort of moved around. So don't get too panicked if they're lost. He made it seem like it was a big deal. So it's part of the mosque experience. So we're sort of near the end of the program here, and I guess, I was at first, I didn't say much. I sort of just rushed through everybody because I was afraid that with all the long lineup of speakers that we had, that it could take way past 9 o'clock, and it didn't. So that's why I didn't say anything until now, except to sort of mention people's names, really. But now that we're at 9 o'clock, we had planned to end, somewhere between 9 and 9:30. We have some refreshments, and I want to leave some time for you all to meet each other. But I sort of want to take a poll about what you all want to do. Do you want a break from sort of the formal program and have some refreshments and meet each other? Or do you guys feel that it would be valuable to open up the floor to others to share their thoughts? So I'm gonna do a poll. So if you think that we should open mic for 15 minutes, can I see your hands? Okay, it's a little lukewarm. Break from the formal program and socialize and refreshments? All right. Okay, I think we win slightly that way. Okay, so we're gonna do that, but before I do that, I want to recognize and acknowledge some people who I haven't done recognized and acknowledged yet. I want to acknowledge Police 11th Division for sending some community liaison representatives to be outside and to support this event. I believe it's Staff Sergeant Eric, who is the main officer out there, and he has two other officers with him, so please thank them for their presence on your way out. I want to acknowledge some other faith and community leaders. We have with us Professor Brian. Can you raise your hand so that from St. Regis College? Okay. Do you want to just say your full name for us so that...
Brian Boswick.
Okay, Professor Brian Boswick from St. Regis College is a friend of ours and a supporter. We have a pastor from Kingsway.
Todd Thomason, pastor of Kingsway Baptist Church in Etobicoke.
Thank you, Todd. Do we have any other faith leaders or any other leaders representing any other organizations who want to introduce themselves by name and organization?
My name is Ryan Friedman. I'm the president of Dawah Noam, and just want to say that when those bullets were shot, the spear tore our hearts out, and we bleed with all our Muslim brothers. Thank you. Dawah Noam is a synagogue in the Shepherd Dufferin area.
Thank you very much for coming out.
My name is Doug Hammond. I'm from the Salvation Army at Dovercourt, just down the street. We really are neighbors, and just really proud to be able to stand in solidarity with you tonight. Bless you.
Thank you very much. hope it reaches this far.
Hello, I'm Liz Bonin. I'm the president of the board of the First Arriver congregation in Toronto, a synagogue on Brunswick Avenue near Harvard. And I'm just feel very fortunate to be here to be sharing this with all of you.
Okay, did I miss anybody? Oh. Where? Oh.
Good evening. I'm Gail Allen. I'm the Interfaith Officer with the United Church of Canada General Council Office and co-chair of the National Muslim Christian Liaison Committee. I'm glad to be able to be here and be part of this solidarity tonight.
Thank you all. Last call.
Beth Molina is too shy to, but she is a member of a Christian ministry here in the city and does great work. And really good to see you. Oh, I also wanted to mention, I'm sorry, I was supposed to bring greetings from Holy Blossom Synagogue, Holy Blossom Temple on Bathurst. Michael Satz, the rabbi who was here last year, couldn't be here tonight, but he did send his greetings.
Thanks again, Joe, and thank you all so much for coming out. And I really hope that we can use the remainder of the evening, to enjoy some refreshments, but also to enjoy each other's company and get to know each other, network, and share some ideas. And thank you all so much once again, and have a wonderful and safe evening. Thank you.